Welcome back. We are at Bristol in the infamous Arca series, and you might ask the question, why would you even try running Bristol?
It's Bristol, baby!
I'm going to be completely and totally honest. I did not know what to expect, because this was the first time I drove the new Arca car at Bristol. So I had about 30 minutes of practice, and I felt comfortable driving by myself and doing hot laps. And I seemed pretty consistent over a long run. But I didn't know how I was going to stack up against these guys. I didn't qualify as well as I know I can run. So I'm back here in 7th place. And it doesn't go as bad as I expected it to, actually. This was a fairly decent run. I didn't get too many incident points. It was enough to at least not cause a negative impact on my safety rating. And I actually had a lot of fun. And I also feel like I learned a lot about the new Arca car in this race. This seemed like an actually really productive session of driving the car and racing around other people. So this ends up being an actually fairly positive experience, which is not common when you're driving an Arca. Especially when the top split is only like a 2500 SOF. Not to mention that we're also racing on a half-mile track, so it's going to get crammed. We get started here kind of on a stutter. Inside line doesn't really move all that well. As you can see, the leader has pulled about 3 car lengths in front of third place car. And we actually get around through these first few laps fairly okay. Everybody is holding their own. We aren't tripping over each other too bad now. There is quite an interesting dynamic in the beginning of the race between the bottom groove and the top groove. And it was actually a lot of fun to play around and figure out how to navigate that and where the speed is going to be at, especially considering who's in front of me and who I'm having to deal with. Really started to dictate which lane I was going to choose. Like right here, I'm going to start going up top because this 14's making a bunch of mistakes. And I believe that I wouldn't say considerably faster at this point in the race because we're all packed up. But I know I can get around this guy. So as we watch this rear bumper view, we'll start to see the 14 stagger farther and farther back as we get through these corners. I believe when we come into turns 1 and 2, yeah, we're going to be clear for the most part. He's going to come right up to our bumper, about hook us, and we're clear. Though it's going to get interesting here in turns 1 and 2 again. The 13 is going to go high, and we're going to just pause this for a second. I'm looking at the 13 up top. I don't even see the 4 on the bottom being hooked. So this closes down on me pretty quick, and I'm left with nothing but to deal with my feet kissing the barrier. We're going to check this replay. The 4 comes down into the 7, and the 6 overreacts to this, which pushes me up into the wall. The 10 then bounces off of me, which gets the 4 and the 1 loose. And if you notice the 2 cars wrecking in the back, the 1 actually tips the 8. The 8 overcorrects a little bit and net codes the 14. They collect the 9 twice, technically. And all of this is happening at the same time the wreck with the 4 was. So we end up with quite the conglomerate of incidences in a relatively short amount of time. But for Bristol, that's just another day of racing. So now that we've settled back in a little bit, I don't have any noticeable damage. The car still handles fine. We are behind the 7 and the 6, which they are currently battling for position. So I'm looking to see who's faster, which it seems is the 7. So I'm going to try and follow him through. I don't quite stick it. The 6 actually gets a really decent run off of 3 and 4 there. Still hanging with 7 because it seems like the inside groove when we're all spread out like this seems to be a little bit faster. So I'm still sticking to the inside here. Going into 1 and 2, we actually get a decent enough run to complete the pass and prevent a crossover into 3 and 4. and we're going to hold a 4th position for a little while here. The 7 makes pretty quick work of catching up to the 2 and the 13, which are battling for first place. So the 5 of us in this league pack catch up to one another and get pretty compressed with the 2 and the 13 fighting. And the 7 is really antsy to take a gander at first place as well, running the top line with the 13, which, to be honest, I think the 2, probably being a little bit smarter, is backing out of this just to save tires. So I'm going to stick behind the 2 for quite a while and play that same strategy. I'm going to lock up with the 2, and we're going to run the same pace for quite a while, though I don't do as good of a tire saving job as he did, which is going to become a lot more apparent as time goes on. I mean, we can even see it right here. I'm getting down to the bottom, but pretty late in the corner, which is scrubbing the front tire more than I want to because I'm trying to get further down into the banking and into the corner with a high entry than I otherwise would not be doing if I just wrapped the corner like I should be doing to save the tire. Coming back into ovals after having such a hiatus from my injury, I wasn't thinking about that as much as I should have been, and reviewing this footage really made that stand out because I was analyzing it a little bit more than I was just trying to drive in the moment, which is something I would recommend to anybody. Watch your driving after you finish the round, even if you feel like you did really good. Pick apart what you've done and find those mistakes. Is how I've found myself to get better. It's what a lot of pros do across a lot of sports. And even watching people that are better than you doing what you are doing. Mimicry is like our nature, and being able to see something and to envision something makes doing something a lot better. There's a lot of psychology that goes into that, and it's fairly interesting how that works. But I mean, at the simplest form, it's monkey see, monkey do. I mean, there's so much content on YouTube of people driving, especially people like DJ EJ. He does breakdowns on how to qualify and how to run the race, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there who are way better than I am who can show you a lot more and describe it in a way better manner than I ever could. Back to racing, we are still behind the 2, and the 6 is still with us, not giving me too much pressure right now, which I'm totally fine with, but not like he's gonna go anywhere anytime soon. We seem to be running fairly similar paces, including the 13 and the 7 as well. They've gotten about a second out in front, but they aren't pulling away too drastically yet. So the top 5 is still pretty tight for the context of a 70-lap race. I'm going to check the 9 and the 1 here. The 9 is going to just shunt the 1, and the 15 is going to come in and give a Newton's cradle effect, ultimately sealing the 1's fate. And he's going to get himself turned around as the 9 checks out in assumably DNFs. Back on board, this picture is going to become quite familiar. We're going to stay like this for quite some time. So this gives me a little bit of an opportunity to kind of settle into the race and feel the car out a bit more. I'm not quite turning the steering wheel as bad as I was before, taking a little bit better of a line, wrapping the apex a little better, and taking care of those tires. Looking at the 6, still behind me, not giving me too much pressure yet. We're going to look at the 7 now, starting to fall off the 13. The 11 is going to get in his way a little bit, but not too bad. The 11 is really slow, either just trying to get out of the way of the leaders or has some sort of damage. So appreciate not having to deal with him too much. But yeah, the 7 is definitely starting to fall off the pace that the 13 has. It seems that he was trying to push really hard, probably has a lot of temperature in his tires, and is starting to wear that front down a little too early. So the 2's also starting to get away from me, and I'm getting pressured by the 6. So I might also be dealing with some temperature and wear issues as well. So we kind of end up grouping into 2s here, and the 7 is going to do everything he can to hold his position. which is only hurting him because he's going to lose this position anyway. And the 6 is going to get to the inside of me with a really good run off of 2, and I'm not going to do much to fight it. Not trying to drop my pace, but looking to just slot in behind him, knowing that he's got a bit better of a pace than me right now. What I'm thinking in this moment is that I have no idea what long-term strategy looks like because I haven't run this track and car combo yet. So I'm not looking at fighting positions too hard because I don't know how much I can push and how much I can get away with, just purely based on the fact that I have no prior knowledge, which is going to come into effect a little later when we start to see some more action again. But for now, this is going to be our picture. I'm going to be sitting at 5th at the tail of this lead pack, just looking at what the other people are doing, what's going on around me, and just trying to hold on to a pace good enough without overdriving to stay within contention. But I'd still be very happy with a 5th place finish regardless. The 6 is starting to look to the outside of the 7, looking to do a crossover out of 4. He does make it stick, and we'll see if he's able to complete this pass. The 7 is still so adamant on not losing a position, which is something I've got to keep in mind for when I get up to him, because I don't want to sit side by side and scrub down my tires. So the moves I've got to make have to be decisive, effective, and pretty quick. As we look off board, we're seeing the 6 and the 7 doing exactly what I'm not wanting to get myself into. This is a benefit to me right now because they're slowing themselves up, and I have the whole track to use when they don't, which will create a pretty decent setup for me to get around the 7 as well, in theory. But this is not actuality. As we get further into this, we'll see I'll make a mistake. Maybe not a mistake, but I didn't have quite the pace into a turn to make that move stick as the 6 is going through as well, as he's barely just inching out some more track position on the 7 on the inside every turn. He is going to be able to almost get around him here, and I think he does finally seal it into 3 and 4 coming on in the main straight. And yep, I did make a mistake. I over throttled out of the corner, and I had to check up to avoid hitting the wall and ruin my straight line speed for the front stretch. And I'm gonna lose about a car length and a half to the 7. I am able to get back up to him pretty quick though, and I'm gonna give him a little tap here to see what the car's gonna do if I give it a little bump, to see if I can make a run on the inside by washing him up a little bit. I do get about even here, but I just don't seem to have the drive to get off the corner as I would like. I do get back up door to door here, but again, I just don't have the run off the inside. I'm also seeing this lap car in front of us and thinking, man, 3 wide's maybe not the best to do at Bristol. So we'll slot back in behind the 7 and stick to his bumper while we try to get around the 11, which ends up not being that much trouble anyway. He either had damage or was letting us go around him. And now that I'm slotted back in behind the 7, I'm having to think of some other way to get around him because the inside's not working, and I'm not able to get far enough up to his door to the point where I can make progress every corner, and I'd be sitting there just wasting even more tire than the 6 was trying to get around the 7. I do get back to the inside again just to test it once more and again conclude that it's not going to work for me. He does hold high, and then I lose connection to the server for a moment, so I blip out. So he continues to hold high. I'm able to get my nose up to his door again. Again, not enough drive off the corner. It is becoming quite the theme. I am going to lose quite a bit of ground off of this corner. I don't know if I just didn't throttle up soon enough or what my issue was there, but the 7 is going to have the opposite issue and hit the wall. So I'm not too worried about losing the 7 based off of the mistakes he's making and the fact that he's running like this semi-middle groove. Like he's not getting all the way down. And I end up trying some different lines to see if I can get some sort of run made on him because I am being held up. I'm not running as fast as I can, and I know I'm losing a lot of ground to the people that are in front of us. So I really start to experiment with my line and see what I can come up with. I'm gonna try kind of this switchback high to low thing. And I don't quite get all the way down, but it seemed promising to me. So he goes high again, so I'm going to try and go low to get as close as I can to his bumper again. I'm going to set up high. I'm going to try and cross over low, putting a lot of wheel into the car. And this is able to get me up to his door by entry and pull even with him out of 4 and secure the pass going into 1 and 2. So I am finally around the 7. And then we see this green car. What's the green car doing? Let's take a look at this. The 17 is going to hit the 11, which then gets pinched by the 11 and the 2 and gets spun up in the wall and kind of gets stuck here. He's not going to be able to make a move off of the wall just because of how much traffic there is. But when he finally does, as we will see as we pull around turn 2, it's going to pull out and hit the 6, which is the 3rd position car, totally ruining his race and giving us a position, which in all honesty is a pretty crappy way to gain a position. That's not the way I want to earn my positions. I don't want to be handed them by a crash like that, especially one of that nature. Like that just sucks. I'm sure the 6 is furious about what just happened. But regardless, we are going to cruise right on into a potential podium finish for the 70 laps at Bristol. With the 7 quite far gone behind us now because of the incident with the 17 and the 6, I have quite the buffer. I am comfortable. I'm going to run my laps, run them as clean as possible, try to not put too much heat in the tires, which I'm obviously not thinking of through these corners. Look how much wheel input I've got. You can't even see the orange tape on the wheel. I'm about cranking at 90 degrees, which is definitely too much for the steering box that I have in it. So we are going to just light the front right on fire with how much input, overdriving the entry and trying to stick it through the middle of the corner. That is not going to work long term whatsoever. So we make the correction. There we go. There's the correction. And so hopefully I didn't get my tires too hot there. Now I'm being inconsistent. What am I doing? Am I just not paying attention and not hitting my marks and trying to overdrive, or am I trying to catch the leaders? Which I don't think is feasible. They're like 5 or 8 seconds in front of me. I mean, we can't even see them on screen right now. That's not good, man. That's really not good. I don't remember this at all, to be honest. I don't remember driving the car that hard. This is actually kind of, wow. I'm honestly pretty appalled that I would let myself overdrive the car that bad. Well, okay, I'm not that good of a fucking race car driver. I'm gonna make mistakes like that all the time. Overdrive the car by too much steering input. Yeah, you see the 7's already catching back up to us. That's how much speed we're scrubbing off by putting too much steering input into it. Overdriving the hell out of the car. Like, I mean, we've done 70 laps at Bristol. These tires are pretty well gone. I should not be doing that to my tires this late. Unless I've ultra saved to make a run, but there's no run to make. I'm not within, 3 seconds of the lead car or the second place car. So I honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. I could not tell you whatsoever. Okay, rant over about my terrible iRacing skills. We are getting pretty close to the end of this one. So all I have to do is hold off the 7, and I've got 3rd place. The number 1 car, as we looked at what he's been involved in, is a lapped car. And obviously a lot faster, probably has been in the pits for a while, has some newer tires than we would have, and probably a lot colder too. So he's going to have more grip. I'm just going to let him by. The 7's completely caught back up to us now. So I've absolutely cooked my tires for the late stage. And now I'm going to have to fight for my position till the end of this thing, pretty much. Which I'm hoping is fairly easy. Just cover the inside and not let him get a run up my inside quarter panel and, you know, wash me up the track. So we're just gonna keep it parked on the apron. Not parked, but, you know, keep it down. Keep it covered. Not let the 7 get around. We do get a better run off the corner than he does. So it looks like now that the 6 is going inside of the 7, which I believe the 6 is the lapped car at this point, we've got a little bit of a buffer again, and we're going to be able to come around into 3 and 4, and we're going to be able to take this thing home for 3rd place after 70 laps. The 1 is going to smack the wall. I believe this is just an absolute rage dump from the 1. I mean, he's been involved in so much, and he's quite considerably higher iRating than most of the people in this lobby. So with having as many incidences as he's gained and as low of a finish as he's got, he's not having fun, for sure. Well, as we pull onto pit road, overall, this was a great run, especially for my first oval race back from injury. We were able to avoid getting absolutely junked at Bristol, which is beyond me because Bristol has historically not been that great for me in terms of staying out of the way of things. So a little bit of skill and a lot of luck got me to 3rd place for my first race back. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
It's Bristol, baby.
Try to fight anybody knowing that I